Something's going on in Sweden. The latest from our daily newsletter at podnews.net. A major new podcast investment company has been launched in Sweden. PodX Group will invest in international podcast IP rights and offer financing, business development, internationalization and commercialization to emerging podcast producers and creators. The company has been founded by leading media figures in the country. Acast has signed the Canadian Politics is Boring podcast to the Acast Creator Network. The show is hosted by Jesse Harley and Rhys Waters. Wonder how copyright works for creators online. The EFF is running a Copyright Creators Town Hall tomorrow at 11:30 in Pacific Time. I'm an EFF member. Should be interesting. Blueberry has added audience survey results into its podcast stats. You should look for the new audience tab if you're with Blueberry. Arab music and podcast platform Angami has partnered with 3 podcast networks for special shows during Ramadan. Welcome to Night Vale performed a live stage show in Austin in Texas. We link to that review from our show notes and our newsletter at podnews.net. And Podmov Daily writes that Archwell Audio is applying for a trademark for Archetypes, which is apparently the title of Meghan Markle's long-awaited Spotify podcast. They've posted the Class 9 and 41 application. We think it might focus on the fields of cultural treatment of women and stereotypes facing women, given that that phrase appears in the application 20 times. We'll link to more about trademarks for your podcast in our show notes and our newsletter at podnews.net. And in People News, Lindsay Smith has been promoted to Vice President of Audio Insights at Ad Results Media. She's worked for the company for 7 years, and Sam Cosby has joined Ad Results Media as Senior Director of Creator Content. Cosby will be responsible for leading all co-created YouTube brand experiences for the company. He joins from Polygenius. And Geeta Benzula is to join Deezer as COO. She says, I couldn't be more thrilled about joining the amazing Deezer team and being part of the company's future success story. Let's rock. She joins from Spark Networks, a dating company. And in podcast news, The Skewer, the critically acclaimed open-door topical show from broadcaster, producer and audio fiddler John Holmes, is back for a new season. Presented in a format designed to be experienced immersively via headphones, it's a dark satirical show unlike anything you've heard before. Episode 1, posted today, includes edits that twist the news. And yes, you can submit material too. The award-winning Untold Killing returns for a second series. There's a trailer on the way, and Curiosity Daily is back. In less than 15 minutes, the show can give you all the interesting tidbits about the most covered or obscure topics of our day, while making you smarter in just a few minutes. The show has new hosts too, Callie Gade and Nate Bonham. Today's episode talks volcanoes, salt in batteries, and how scientists have no idea why animals keep evolving into crabs. I hate it when that happens. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories in full and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.
What do you think it takes for someone to start seeing their neighbour or their childhood friend as the enemy, as someone to fear, to the point where they're willing to do anything to eliminate the threat?
They justified it to themselves because it was part of saving the nation.
My name is Alexandra Bilic, and in Series 2 of Untold Killing, I want to find an answer to that question, because it happened in my home country. Just 30 years ago, my family and I had to flee Bosnia to the UK because of a brutal war in which ordinary people were pitted against each other, divided by their ethnicities and by their political leaders.
People are much more easily manipulated than they believe themselves to be.
And already at the start of the Bosnian War, in the spring of 1992, these divisions were manifesting in a sinister and calculated way. There were areas where thousands of Bosnian Muslims and Croats were detained, tortured and killed in concentration camps run by their countrymen, Bosnian Serbs.
The months I spent in Omarska, I saw several murders. I heard screams of people in the night, I think hundreds of them.
Join me on the podcast where, over 6 episodes, I'll be exploring the story of one Bosnian municipality's descent from a peaceful, multi-ethnic society into a collection of burning towns and torture-filled death camps.
The war creeped on us like slowly. It is like really water raising up, and you almost don't notice how your daily life is changing.
The first episode of Series 2 of Untold Killing will drop in April 2022, with new episodes coming out every week. Subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you listen.